Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 1359.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about the end of Saudi Arabia and the US dollar having a contract, which, from what we hear, is going to end on June 9th. Now, this was a contract that goes back to 1957, and Henry Kissinger represented the United States and got the Saudi Arabian government to agree to use the US dollar for oil, and only the US dollar, hence the name Petro Dollar. Apparently, that contract ran for 67 years and is due to be finishing now. So does that mean the US dollar is doomed? Well, I don't think so. And before you jump on that, hear me out. Because I think what's going on here is not a war by the BRICS against the United States. I think the war is against treasuries around the world versus a central bank. And many countries have been under the control of a central bank for a long time. Some countries refuse to have a central bank, and they found themselves in the crosshairs of perhaps being involved in the next war or having their leader taken out. But I think those days are coming to an end. And the reason I believe things are in a major change is because, number one, corruption is so obvious right now. We're being shown the corruption that's been in existence for decades. But we didn't see it for decades. It was very well hidden for a very long time. The fact that it's so obvious and in our face right now means it's changing. Secondly, last week, Senator Massey submitted a bill to end the Fed. This was surprising to many people, but if you understand what's happening, it makes logical sense. There has to be a law passed to end the Fed if we're going to go back to the U.S. Treasury issuing the money and being constitutional. And thirdly, the BRICS nations are all joining together and they want to have a gold-backed currency. Now, as you know, the BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But many more countries have already joined or have said they're going to join. So already, in January of 2024, 4 new members joined. That was Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. And now 7 more countries want to join the BRICS before the October 16th summit, which is Cameroon, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Syria, Thailand, Venezuela, and Zimbabwe. Now recently, Zimbabwe came out with a gold-backed currency. At least they announced they're going to have a gold-backed currency. I don't know if it's physically out at this moment, but they have said they're going to have a gold-backed currency. The BRICS have also said they want to have a gold-backed currency. So where is that Saudi Arabian money going to go from being in US dollars for oil? What currency are they going to use? My guess is they're going to have some sort of an agreement with the BRICS where they're going to use those currencies, or perhaps a mutual currency, maybe some people say an ESDR or some other way. But just like having all that money for oil, biggest resource in the world that money is spent on, instead of having had created value for the US dollar and demand for the US dollar, now flowing through the BRICS currency will create demand and value for the BRICS currency. And if the BRICS currency is backed by something like gold, that will put pressure on the US Federal Reserve note that it will have to be replaced with something that is backed with value, or it will lose its value in the future. But is that a death knell for the US? I don't think so, because I think the US is also going to have a treasury-issued currency and will be joining the BRICS. So again, it's going to be countries and their treasuries against countries' central banks or the Federal Reserve. What we're really doing is fixing the monetary system. We're fixing the old fiat system. which was controlled by a small group of people and was able to create fiat money into oblivion, which devalued currencies and kept people poor. It caused inflation, caused rising prices, and a massive loss of purchasing power. And as we all know, the US dollar, issued in 1913 by the Federal Reserve, is only worth 2 cents of the purchasing power of that dollar. Versus if we had stayed in silver, for example, 4 quarters that were silver quarters would be worth about $28 today. So we'd have more purchasing power today if we'd stayed in a precious metals-backed currency. But by going to a fiat-based currency with nothing backing it, they're able to inflate the money down to very little purchasing power. And that's what has to be fixed. Oftentimes, these fiat currencies only last for a period of time, and then they have to be rebooted. But if you just reboot into another fiat currency, you haven't fixed the problem. But if you reboot into a precious metals or a commodity-based currency, something that is limited in how much can be created, then you're going to preserve your purchasing power. You're going to actually fix the problem and hopefully eliminate the Federal Reserve in the process. Remember, the U.S. Constitution says that our money is only supposed to be silver or gold, and it's supposed to be issued by the U.S. Treasury, not the Federal Reserve. So in my opinion, we're going back to constitutional republic where we follow the Constitution and what it says. And in the process, we're going to be fixing our money. So I'm not concerned about what's going to happen to the Federal Reserve note because I believe, like the BRICS, our Treasury is going to have another solution for the US dollar. We'll see what happens, but that's just my 2 cents. If you haven't subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as soon as new podcasts are available. And all of my podcasts are on my website at lindapjones.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly newsletter for more wealth tips for your financial freedom. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.